What's the difference between a stage play and a screenplay?
With film, you don't need all those words because you can use the camera angles. You can have a close-up, you can have a medium shot, you can do a wide shot, you can move the camera, and so words don't even need to be said because you're actually allowing the actor the camera time. Like if I ask how you're doing and I'm really angry at you, I'm just gonna go, or something, right? Stupid example. I'm not an actor. But, we don't need to get into the whole thing. We can build up the narrative and the background and the exposition through camera. It doesn't have to be through dialogue.
Which did you write first, stage play or screenplay?
Stage play.
If both paid the same, which would you rather write? Or is it not about the money?
It's not about the money. I love both for individual reasons. For whatever reason, film fell into my lap, and it's what I know. I wouldn't say I don't know how to do it better. Writing a stage play is really hard, really, really hard to not be expositional and to show action through, obviously, actors' movement, but through dialogue primarily. That's really hard to do, especially if you have a limited setting, and to know how to break things up. And I think there can be a little bit more, there are more rules that help you create a blueprint with screenwriting, at least in my experience. One of my favorite books that I like to read is called Save the Cat by Blake Snyder, the late Blake Snyder, unfortunately. Sometimes it's people's cup of tea, other times they think that it's too formulaic. For me, it helped a lot for me to understand how scenes continually need to change and shift. It helped me break down what are character flaws, whether that character is the good guy, the hero, or the anti-hero, or the bad guy. And the book just really made everything digestible. And there have been other books that I've read just to get the flavor of the industry, and nothing really spoke to me. And when it comes to stage plays, there are books out there how to write a stage play. None of them really spoke to me. So what I do and what has worked for me and helped me later years in life is read over and over and over and over again the playwrights and the plays that speak to me. And I think that we share a common way of writing. Like Edward Albee I love. He's very to the point and gets things written out. And Tracy Letts is another favorite of mine. And just, people like that, I will just reread my favorites, and that's how I learn.
Sure. What about also too watching a play or a movie that was a play or a playwright's version of a movie, like seeing how they incorporate dialogue and things like that?
So you're asking when a play is a stage play and then it's turned into a film?
Yeah, I'm thinking of, let's say, Birdman, or even Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, or whatever, where they sort of take the play and then they try to turn it into a movie, and seeing how they finagle different things.
Yeah, there are a lot of great examples of either movies that take something that was only on the stage and then put it into film format, like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, or August Osage County is another great example. And then there are movies that were put onto Broadway, like To Kill a Mockingbird, and then you have that hybrid that you're talking about, Birdman, that I don't believe it was a stage play first. Do you know?
I don't think it was. Yeah.
So it's
I'm
a
just
hybrid.
lumping it in.
Yeah, it's a hybrid, and I think that's so cool. And even with things like dance, the movie with Natalie Portman, Black Swan, the ballet movie, that deals with a lot of movement and everything that you would see on a stage, but it's actually a film. And with my upcoming film Recluse, it's about orchestra and it's about violin players, and I intend to incorporate a lot of the stage performances along with the things that I've learned in the film industry and try to have that hybrid experience for people.
Yeah, just watched August Osage County. Hadn't actually seen it until recent, and what a film, and so many emotions go through you. I don't want to give it away for anyone who hasn't seen it, but yeah.
Have you read the play?
I have not.
It'd be an interesting thing to see, to compare the two of them, to see like what you know of the movie and then how it comes out on the page. Tracy Letts did a really great job because he kept a lot of the dialogue from the play, and that's hard to do without making people like snore, but he did it.
If you were teaching a class on writing a stage play, what would you want the students to know?
Read everything you can get your hands on and go see everything you can afford to pay. And I would be talking to the administration trying to get funds so that the kids didn't have, or the younger people didn't have to be doing that to pay for it. That really helped me. And just like you were asking, how do I know if a story is speaking with me or it's the right moment or right story for me? Make sure that you're in love with the subject, because you're going to be spending innumerable hours with these characters and with this scenario. And you're going to hit dead ends, and you're lucky if you do hit a dead end, because if you do, then the audience is going to hit it with you. And if you can figure out how to get yourself out of that corner, the audience is never going to see it coming, and that's what's going to make it very intriguing.
Do you think there's a difference between like local community theater and the investment in the story versus something, you said you went to see Phantom of the Opera and it sounds like a wonderful night out, but it's maybe a different audience?
Yeah, the glamour of Broadway and West End or West Bank and, you know, of the bigger theaters, that's one thing. The independent and the community theater is a whole different thing. Where I have a place in the Poconos, Pennsylvania, they have community theater there, and the actors are great, and that's an experience. In New York City, a place like Rattlesnake Playwrights Theater or some of the other smaller, more intimate black boxes that have 100 seats or 200 seats, you're right there with the actors. You can see them sweating. You can see them spitting. You can see them messing up lines and thinking, oh shoot, you know, in their head, and then and the other person like looking at them and they're trying to get back on track. So it's just like all the little micro details that you can see. And I think that that's different than Phantom of the Opera or the bigger like Moulin Rouge, and you know, it's just a spectacle and it's beautiful and there's a place for it in the world. But if you're looking for a much more intimate situation, community theater and independent theater, I think it's pretty neat.
If you had to teach another semester of those same playwright students screenwriting, what would you teach?
So if it was the second semester, then hopefully a lot of their dialogue would have been better. And so I would then ask them to adapt the play that they wrote for the first semester into a screenplay. And I would probably give them Blake Snyder's Save the Cat, because I think it's very digestible. And I would teach them the difficult lesson of having to cut dialogue that you worked so painstakingly for, and to really understand what is pushing the story forward, because that's the only thing that's important. Does this section create action and a reaction? And when I say, you know, a story or a scene turning, or an action creates a reaction causes an action, you know, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. That's how you form a great arc of a story, whether that's theater or film. It's just a different medium of doing it. So teaching them how to use the lens more and to show emotion through the lens rather than through dialogue would be the thing I would focus on.
I know we talked about August Osage County just previously. Is there a certain play to film you would use in the curriculum for this class? One that you think is just a brilliant transition from stage to screen?
I guess one that I would suggest, because it's almost all dialogue, is Edward Albee's The Zoo Story. It's about a husband on the Upper West Side, Upper East Side, who goes to Central Park to read the newspaper, and he meets a very colorful character who tells him all these wild stories. And it would probably just be a short film, but I think it would be interesting to read the stage play, because there's barely any action. It's just this guy in the park talking. So it's like, how would you tell the same story through the lens? I think that would be interesting. A very nice challenge.
Kind of like a dinner with Andre,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
someone's just talking the entire time while the other person's eating or drinking or whatever.
Yeah.
But so how would you do that? Yeah, that is interesting. Mm-hmm. Which is more challenging, trying to get a stage play put together or trying to get a script produced into a movie?
I don't know which is more challenging. I know that you have more opportunities to make a recruitment with films, especially feature films, because a lot of times you have investors and you're trying to make deals with distribution companies. There's a back end to that, like there's distribution. With a stage play, it has its run. And if you're lucky, it gets great reviews. If you're really lucky, it gets on Broadway and it has a life of its own. But with theater, you can only go and see it in person, and you can tape it, but it's a little different. With film, you can make it into DVDs, you can have it streaming, you can have all these things. So the opportunity to pay back your investors is higher. I don't know if that answers your question.
Sure. But then the immediacy of the audience's reactions, even if you don't talk to them after the screening, or the performance, but just to feel the tension in the audience in certain moments.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's got to be very powerful for a writer.
Yeah, it is very powerful, and I chose to create, with my producing partner, Brian Long, Cardinal Flicks, Inc., which is our independent film production company, because we had another company with theater, but that was really hard for us to keep afloat. And with Cardinal Flicks, we decided that we had much more opportunity to connect with people and to reach out. And when I say connect with people, we have a lot of we believe in helping the communities that we shoot in. And for example, we're working with the mayor of Scranton, Pennsylvania, Paige Cognetti, and we're having different events coming up, and we would like the next 4 films to be shot in their community. And that brings a lot of business to the area, which is great. And we also have a lot of programs that would be beneficial to that community. We have the mentor program, it's called, and we take for each shoot 25 students or young people under the age of 25, and we bring them to the set for a day, and they get to watch the director, they get to watch the crew, have lunch with us, ask questions, do all of that. There's the female director program, where 2 early stage female directors will come on set for 2 weeks, work with me directly, or worked with whichever director is going to be on the film. And so they get that experience and get to make connections that way with the industry. We have an emerging producer program, where 2 younger people up-and-coming producers come right onto the team from the very beginning. They get to see from soup to nuts how the whole production aspect works. And the last thing that we're going to start implementing on future shoots is Heroes for Lunch. And whatever community that we are working in, we are going to ask somebody from the area that is considered a local hero in whatever way, whether that's a police officer or a fire person, a teacher, a nurse, it can be anything, a person who works at a soup kitchen. And we're going to invite them to have lunch with the whole cast and crew and give them a whole speech about what they do for this area, just to pay homage and honor for those people because they're helping us. And so we want to give back to that community as well.
Wow, that's really cool. And how long has these different programs been going on with Cardinal Flicks?
Pretty much from Life After You. We started it. If you go to our website, cardinalflicks.com, it'll show you all of the different programs on our website and how they've been implemented with our past films.